before you scroll, take a breath with me. Right now, something inside you brought you here. Welcome to Therapist Live. This is more than a channel. It's a space for clarity, healing, and real emotional growth. Here, we talk about mental health, self-awareness, relationships, and the patterns that shape your life. If you're ready to understand yourself on a deeper level, subscribe now and turn on notifications because this journey starts today. Take a deep breath and let's begin. Finding your meaning, Logotherapy. Introduction. Welcome to the final video in our series on man's search for meaning. We've traveled through the darkness of the camps in part 1. We've looked at the inner strength and the freedom to choose your attitude in part 2. Now, we're going to talk about the solution. After the war, Viktor Frankl didn't just go back to his old life. He developed a new school of psychology called Logotherapy. It's a fancy word, but the concept is simple. Logos is Greek for meaning, so it's healing through meaning. In this script, I want to break down exactly how Frankl suggests we find meaning in our lives today. Because, let's be honest, a lot of us feel a little lost sometimes. We have food, we have safety, but we still feel empty. Frankl called this the existential vacuum. Main topics. 1. The existential vacuum. Frankl noticed that in the modern world, many people suffer from boredom and emptiness. We don't have instincts telling us what to do like animals. And traditions don't dictate our lives as much as they used to. So, we often don't know what we want to do. We fall into conformism, doing what everyone else does, or totalitarianism, doing what others tell us to do. He calls this the existential vacuum. You feel it on Sunday afternoons when the business of the week stops and you're left with your own thoughts. I related to this so much. How often do we scroll through our phones just to avoid that quiet feeling of, what is this all for? Logotherapy says, you need to fill that vacuum with meaning. And meaning isn't something you invent. It's something you detect in the world. 2. The 3 ways to find meaning. So, how do you find it? Frankl gives us 3 very clear paths. The first is by creating a work or doing a deed. This is the most obvious one. It's your work, your hobbies, your contributions. For Frankl in the camp, it was his desire to rewrite his lost manuscript. That goal kept him alive. It's about leaving a footprint. The second is by experiencing something or encountering someone. This means experiencing nature, culture, beauty, or experiencing another person through love. Frankl says love is the only way to grasp another human being in the innermost core of their personality. Love isn't just a feeling. It's seeing the potential in someone else. The third way is the most profound, by the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. Frankl is very clear here. Suffering is not necessary to find meaning. If you can change a bad situation, you should. But if you can't change it, like an incurable disease or the loss of a loved one, then you are challenged to change yourself. He tells a story about an elderly doctor who was depressed because his wife had died. Frankl asked him, what would have happened if you had died first? The doctor said, oh, my wife would have suffered terribly. Frankl said, you see, you have spared her that suffering, but now you must pay for it by surviving and mourning her. Suddenly, the doctor's suffering had meaning. It was a sacrifice for his wife. His pain didn't disappear, but it became bearable because it meant something. 3. Paradoxical Intention. I want to share one practical tool from Logotherapy that Frankl mentions. It's called Paradoxical Intention. It's for people who deal with anxiety or fears. He gives an example of a man who was afraid of sweating in social situations. The more he was afraid of sweating, the more he sweat. It's a vicious cycle. Frankl told him to do the opposite. He said, next time you feel anxiety, tell yourself, I only sweat a quart before, but now I'm going to pour 10 quarts. By trying to force the thing he feared, he took the wind out of its sails. He laughed at his fear, and the sweating stopped. It's about detaching yourself from your neurosis with a sense of humor. It's realizing you are not your fear. For the meaning of life is responsibility. Ultimately, Frankl concludes that we shouldn't search for an abstract meaning of life. Life is like a chess game. There is no single best move in the world. There is only the best move for this situation, for this player. Your meaning is unique to you. It changes from day to day, hour to hour. Your job is to listen to what life is asking of you right now. Maybe right now, the meaning of your life is to help a friend. Maybe tomorrow, it is to do your job well. Maybe next week, it is to bear a difficult pain with dignity. Conclusion: reading Man's Search for Meaning changed me. I used to think happiness was the goal. But Frankl says happiness cannot be pursued. It must ensue. Introduction: usually in preface or general knowledge, implied in text. It happens as a side effect of having a reason to live. The change in me was a shift from asking what can I get to what can I give? Whatever situation you are in right now, even if it's dark, Frankl reminds us that you have a choice. You have the freedom to choose your attitude, and you have a unique task that only you can fulfill. I hope this series helped you understand why this book is such a treasure. If you haven't read it, please do. It might just change your life. Here is a summary of the key themes and insights from Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, based on the provided text and our previous discussion. The core premise: Man's Search for Meaning is not just a memoir of the Holocaust. It is a psychological investigation into what keeps a human being alive when everything else is stripped away. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and survivor of Auschwitz and Dachau, argues that the primary drive in human life is not pleasure, Freud, or power, Adler, but the will to meaning, the desire to find a purpose in one's existence. Part 1. Experiences in a Concentration Camp. The first half of the book details the brutal reality of camp life, focusing on the psychological reactions of the prisoners rather than just the physical horrors. Frankl identifies 3 distinct phases of mental reaction. Shock. Upon arrival, prisoners experience a delusion of reprieve, the false hope that they might be saved at the last minute. This quickly gave way to the grim reality of the selection, where a flick of finger determined life or death. Apathy. Once entrenched in the routine, prisoners developed a protective shell of apathy. Emotions were blunted. They ceased to feel disgust at filth or pity for the dying. This emotional death was a necessary mechanism of focus entirely on the singular task of survival. Depersonalization. After liberation, when freedom finally came, it did not feel real. Prisoners had to relearn how to feel joy. Many also faced bitterness and disillusionment upon returning to a world that could not understand their suffering. Key insight: even in this environment, Frankl observed that spiritual freedom could not be taken away. While the Nazis controlled the prisoners' bodies, they could not control the prisoners' attitude toward their suffering. Those who lost faith in their future, who lost their why, were often the first to die. Part 2. Basic concept of logotherapy. The second half of the book introduces Frankl's psychotherapeutic method, logotherapy. It is less retrospective, looking back at the past, and more perspective, looking toward the future and its meanings. The existential vacuum. Frankl argues that modern society suffers from an existential vacuum, a feeling of emptiness and boredom. People have the means to live, but often lack a meaning to live for. This void often manifests as depression, addiction, or aggression. How to find meaning. According to logotherapy, meaning is not invented within ourselves but detected in the world. We can discover meaning in 3 ways: by creating a work or doing a deed, achievement/creativity; by experiencing something or encountering someone, nature, art, or love. Frankl emphasizes that love is the only way to truly grasp another human being's essence, be why the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. When we are no longer able to change a situation, like an incurable disease or the camps, we are challenged to change ourselves. Suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds a meaning, such as the meaning of a sacrifice. Essential takeaways: responsibility. Life is constantly asking us questions. We answer not with words, but with right action. We are responsible for finding the unique meaning of our specific situation. Tragic optimism. Human potential allows us to turn suffering into achievement, guilt into self-improvement, and life's transitoriness into an incentive to take responsible action. The ultimate freedom. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. If this content resonated with you, please leave a like. It helps the channel reach more people who may also need this message. Share this video with someone who could benefit from it. And if you're not subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to subscribe and turn on notifications. We are here to share new content anytime to support your emotional journey. Thank you for being here. Take care of your mind. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next video.